let's talk about Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, she is married to Prince Harry, been in the news a lot because when she partnered with Prince Harry, the British tabloids, they were terrible to her. And Meghan Markle is, her mother is black, her father is white. Meghan Markle is very light-skinned, and in some spaces, one might say she could pass for white. Now, of course, we know a lot of folks all throughout history, one might say, you know what I'm saying, but we know a lot of folks all throughout history who have a black parent and a white parent. Nobody thinks they're white, or they were white. Bob Marley, Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Halle Berry, Barack Obama. We all know how Obama was treated. So plenty of people who are quote unquote biracial. I'm not a big fan of that term, but there's no white passing whatsoever. But Meghan Markle was talking to Mariah Carey. Now, Mariah Carey is somebody who, now, when I first saw Mariah Carey, maybe because I got fam from the South, I mean, I just thought she was a light-skinned black girl. I didn't think it was that special or unique.
Creole.
And also considering, right, exactly. And also considering in the 80s, especially on media, you saw a lot of light-skinned black people, from Elder Bars to Jasmine Guy. But, for Mariah Carey, she really, it appeared she was promoted, I don't know if it was her record label, as being the biracial butterfly. That's what it appeared to be. But here is Meghan Markle and Mariah Carey talking about this. And they also reference Halle Berry, who Meghan Markle described as being darker skinned. So her experience might be a lot different, because I guess the language she was, referring to is that Halle Berry is not white passing at all. But they didn't use that term, but listen to this.
I read this article about Halle Berry, and they were asking her how she felt being treated as a mixed race woman in the world. And her response was her saying, well, your experience through the world is how people view you. So she said because she was darker in color, she was being treated as a black woman, not as a mixed woman.
Right.
And I think for us, it's so different because we're light skinned. You're not treated as a black woman. You're not treated as a white woman. You sort of fit in between. I mean,
this could be semantics, but I really just despise the word mixed. I really do. You mix a can of paint or a dog. You don't mix a human being, right? Now, if you believe in that terminology mixed, then you would have to know Black Studies 101 is that Black Americans especially are a quote-unquote mixed people. If you believe in that kind of language, I suggest going back and looking at Gene Toomer or Walter White with the NAACP, or look at folks who have two black parents like Lena Horne or Vanessa Williams, who has blue eyes, right? So this whole idea of what a mixed person experiences, I wasn't really sure what that means. Are we talking about white passing people or, lighter skinned folks and so on? The other thing that's interesting to me, and this is just my perspective, as somebody who has a white parent and a black parent, I've never passed for white. No one's ever thought I was white in any capacity. Yeah, I've never had that experience whatsoever. Is that it's not that I chose. She was saying, well, you have to choose. I didn't choose. There was no choice in my racial identity. Now, maybe this is generational. I know, I grew up in a very binary place. I was either in an all-black neighborhood or an all-white neighborhood. I wasn't raised around Latin folks. And Latin folks can be black as well. I know some New Yorkers have a different experience. But there was no choice in my racial identity. I was explicit. I mean, so much so, my mother was telling me when I was in Washington State, she was saying, when you are stopped by police officers, my white mother, I need you to know what to do because I can't protect you. So much so, I was experiencing so much racism in Washington State, my mother said, you have to go back home to Philadelphia with your father. You're being called the N-word constantly. It's having an effect on your psyche. So there wasn't really any choice in it. And lastly, I'll say, and I mean this respectfully, is that I was kind of surprised that Meghan Markle was surprised that she would experience racism in the royal family. Girl, I could have told you that. I could have. You should have gave me a call. I could have told you that was going to go down. I mean, look at the record of colonization. I could have explained that to you. So I was I was just wondering, were you in your own light skin privilege bubble? I mean, real light. Because look at Faith Evans. Faith Evans is very light, but no one, she's not living life as a white woman. And with Mariah Carey, and I say it respectfully because I like Mariah a lot. You know, what a great talent. It's that it appeared at some points in her career that she, again, maybe the record label, they were playing this racially ambiguous game. That's what it seemed like to me. When there are so many black singers who have white parents that weren't playing that game. So it seemed like it was almost record music label marketing that she's not black, she's not white, she's somewhere in between. So I don't know what that in-between lane is, even as being a journalist. I've never experienced the in-between lane. Now, again, light skin privilege, absolutely. But I was a little bit like, but I guess maybe there's a spectrum of a Meghan Markle and of a Lenny Kravitz. You know, or of a Jennifer Beals, I don't know how she identifies now, who was passing for being white when she was in Flashdance. Again, very young, 18, 19 years old. And someone like a Halle Berry, who I can recall when she won the Oscar, her website, when we had websites back then, was hacked. And they put the N-word all over her website. So it's very interesting, and I wonder if it's the shock that, you know, you were going to be seen as a black person. And I guess you just didn't realize that. I don't know, Ted. Give me your thoughts, especially on the Mariah angle, because you're somebody who's been in the music industry for a long time. What are your thoughts? And feel free to disagree if you don't like what I'm saying. I get it.
So I think we have to start at the beginning and be honest about what we're talking about. We're talking about race. Race is a social construct. It's not real.
Exactly.
That is the ground zero, right?
But it has real ramifications, though. It has real results.
It has real ramifications, but we have to be, I think, honest about the fact that it is a construct. And so when people are people see themselves or position themselves at different places inside that construct based on the way they see themselves, their own lived reality, etc. One of the things I think about the Mariah Carey story is fascinating because I too think she's an amazing talent. You know, her records speak for themselves. Is that when we say, you know, there was a racial ambiguous game maybe being played, but is it ambiguous when she's literally biracial? Like first generation, right? I don't mean like 7 generations back.
Well, I just think of so many other black singers who have a black parent and a white parent, and that game wasn't played.
But you are classifying them as black.
No. They can be whatever they want to be. If they want to be
you just
a
said
5'2",
you just said black singer who has.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, because biracial isn't a racial identity. I'm just saying there are black singers who have white parents where they were.
Biracial is a racial identity as much as black is. That's my whole point. It's all
No,
made.
it's not.
It actually is.
Well, there's only 5 races. There's only 5 races, and biracial is not a race. And if you're biracial, what does that mean? What are your 2 races?
Who said there?
So I'm saying it's not a racial identity.
Who said there are 5 races?
That's according to the census. There are 5 races.
The census is not
5 actual races.
The census is not some scientific kind of idea.
Neither is race.
That race is a construct. That's the whole point.
But race is not scientific either. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
But hold on a second. Biracial is a racial descriptor. It's not a racial identity. That's all that I'm saying. You could be black and Asian. You could be Asian and Native American. It's a racial descriptor. And I think some people don't understand the definition of race, of nationality, of descriptors. Biracial is not like a protected racial identity. It's a descriptor for how you are. You could be biracial and be black. You know, when I was younger, no one said biracial. That term wasn't even around. Yeah. So I'm saying I'm identifying them as black because those singers that Faith Evans, she was experiencing. If Faith Evans would have been a white girl singing "As Soon as I Get Home," she would have had a much different career. That's essentially a pop song. Home. She would have had a much different career. So I cut you off, but I just want to be clear what I'm saying. That it's a descriptor. Go ahead.
I hear you, and I respectfully disagree with you. I just, again,
okay.
race is made up. Like, what is black? rhetorically, right? What is white? What is, I mean, and who said these are the 5 races? Somebody, like, there was no black race, all this stuff before colonialism is the point. And people existed in terms, you identify people through their nationality or their tribes or their ethnicity. Race is not real. So to have an argument about whether somebody identifies as black or white or mixed race, I just think it misses the point. Like, and the truth is, to your other point, Barack Obama was asked, he talked about this in his first book, you have a black parent and a white parent. How do you see yourself? And he said, I see life through the lens of a black man, because that's how people respond to me. Exactly, and that's what I feel like Mariah is saying, and what I feel like Meghan is saying. It matters not how you label yourself, honestly. You have the right, Clay, to say, I'm white. You do.
No, I don't.
That's my point.
You have the right to say. Then all black.
You're saying I'm black. Like, what's the difference to me? Like, if you're, it's all made up, bro. Like, if you could say,
I can't live life. I can't live life as a white person. I could be transracial like Rachel Dolezal, but I can't live life. If I respond
to you as a white person, you can live life. As
I could call myself a 5'2" Asian woman if I want to, but the reality is I'm not. I mean, pretty much every African American. I mean, can Vanessa Williams say she's white? She might have a lot of white ancestry.
She got
to stay out of the sun.
Listen, hold on. We're getting a little bit too hokey now. Now I understand race is a social construct, but race is real as fuck. It is real as fuck. It's not in the DNA. It's not in the genes. I understand there's no black blood and white blood. I always say that. But race is significant. There's policy created around race.
Sure.
There are laws created around race. They're literally trying to ban studying race in schools. Race is real as fuck. And if Meghan Markle didn't know how real it was, she figured it out when someone in her family wanted to know how dark that baby was going to be. So I get what you're saying, and that's all cute and everything. But at the end of the day, from my experience as a black man, even with a white mother, it was real as fuck for me. So much so, my mother said, you are leaving this entire West Coast because I'm tired of you being called the N-word. I'm tired of teachers. I had teachers that made my desk face the wall. When I moved to Philly, around a bunch of other kids who look like me, I didn't have that kind of trauma anymore. So it's still real. We can't say, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't exist. It does exist. It's impacting the lives every single day of black people and our ancestors. Like, it does exist.
But I think words matter. And so again, my pushback is race is not real. Racism is real. And the way that people respond to you based on their perception of who you are and how you present and your phenotype, etc., those things are real. As a matter of fact, full stop, race is a social construct, period.
It is.
And so
money is a social construct.
I agree.
But it's still real.
So it's not real.
Yes, it is. Money is real as fuck.
Okay.
Money is real as fuck.
Brother, they are not real. If it's
it's real. It has real ramifications, Ted. Money is real. Money, bro. You sound a little.
We can agree to disagree on that.
You're giving me a little hippie right now. It's real.
It's very hippie. Also, I love it when you cuss, Clay.
Let's let Joelle jump in. Go ahead.
I love it when you cuss, Clay. Here's the thing.
It's Friday.
I think two things can be true. And honestly, you guys are both right, which is weird to me because Ted is on some smoking a joint hippie stuff right now. And he is correct. Race is a social construct, but we did construct it. And so it is therefore real because of how people treat you in the streets. And the biggest shock for me in that was like, oh, snap. She called Halle Berry dark. Like, that was crazy to me because she played Queen Haley. Like, what are you talking about right now? I was like, talk about how everything is relative. She's dark to her. I was like, what are you talking about? I stand Meghan Markle. I love her. But that was hilarious to me. And they was both like having the lightest skin conversation I've ever heard in my life. And I have never been able to be even privy to that. I'm so happy that they did that for us because I didn't know that the light skinned people, their brains are different. And that's what we've been trying to say this whole entire time. You acting light skinned. That is acting light skinned. You said, you cuss Halle Berry, you know, she's so dark. What are you talking about? So yeah, that was crazy to me. I'm happy she got her culture shock. Everybody needs their culture shock, and she got it in the biggest way possible on the main stage. But yeah, no, it's interesting because I'm dating a mixed race man. My boyfriend is white and Asian, which passes for most people as white to the untrained eye, to goofy white people who only see people's whiteness, they think he's white. So he's been privy to many conversations that you, Clay, wouldn't be privy to, because they'd be like, hey, look at that nose, look at that hair. We ain't gonna say what we really want to say around him. But with my boyfriend, he just has a slight slant to his eye, and Asians, like, we go get our nails done together. The Asian ladies be like, you got Asian in your body, I see it. Don't try to act like, I can tell you try to act like you ain't Asian. He's like, no, my mom is Asian. But we went, and I purposely got a mixed race therapist for us. I got a half white, half black therapist to for us to go on our journey, because I've never experienced this before, like dealing with a biracial person. And the fact that he said in our first session that you don't really have a home anywhere, because he's not Asian enough for his Asian side, he's not white enough for the white side. So that's a totally different experience that most of us can't relate to. So biracial is a whole race.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole race. That's not real.
Right? I think it's hilarious. She said that was the most light-skinned conversation I ever heard. That is hilarious. There was some beige trauma in that conversation. I said, and the other point of it too, like, I'm saying this respectfully, let's not act like Mariah Carey's career. I'm sure she dealt with the media and horrible comments, but her career has not been impacted because of biracial trauma. She's had a wonderful career. She's had an incredible career. I mean, let's not act like, I guess I'm wondering.
But she has been impacted. And I know that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sure she has. And I understand that.
She married Tommy Mottola and Nick Cannon. Okay. So she has issues.
She's been through trauma. But I guess I think, again, the things that I always think of is that maybe this is a new conversation, but it's this idea. One thing my parents never did, they never told me that I was special and different and a butterfly because I had different race parents. I was, you're special, you're different, no, that's not what it is. You are a child. We ain't nothing special just because one parent white, one parent black. That's not. My father didn't allow terms about my hair in the household. He didn't allow that. They just weren't about that. And I think that there is a stretch now to be like, I met somebody a while ago who said, oh, I'm biracial. I said, oh, what's your background? Oh, I'm Dominican and Haitian. And I'm like, those are nationalities. And y'all are on the same island. You know what I mean? Or I'll meet people who will say, I'm biracial. I'm like, okay, what's your, I always say, what's your background? That's what I normally always say. And someone said, oh, well, I'm black and Puerto Rican. I'm like, well, you could be a black Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricans can be white, they can be black, they can be indigenous. Like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me. And this idea that lighter skinned people are something new and different. My God, for like 10 years on the cover of Jet magazine, all you saw were like light bright girls. I mean, my God, like I'm fully aware that when I was growing up, it was a lot of folks who looked like me that was considered to be something. I don't know. I was just curious as to that. I don't know. But then again, I don't fall in this space where I don't fall in that in-between world.
For anybody who saw it, the Colin Kaepernick, piece I thought was
great
really
example.
fascinating. Because he was raised by white parents and he was feeling
adopted.
Like part of him adopted by these white parents, but he feeling like he was missing part of himself and not understanding part of himself, and they were basically, based on the depiction of it, trying to keep him from that, saying, you need to go here and just basically live as a white person.
And what I liked about Colin Kaepernick's show, some of these mixed tragic mulatto TV shows or whatever, it's like, oh, the dark-skinned black people are treating me bad, and oh my gosh, and that wasn't my experience, because again, I have people who both their parents are dark-skinned and they're actually lighter than me. That's how miscegenation worked. That's how our ancestry is. But with Colin Kaepernick, it's the same thing. The way he was treated, he wasn't treated as the mixed person. He wasn't treated as the biracial person. The black man. They came after him.
Yep.
He is someone who was actually canceled.
Yep.
So I don't know. I just think it's an interesting conversation. But listen, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I whatever you want to call yourself. But
Yeah.
some people don't have the privilege to call themselves whatever they want to call themselves.
It gets
That's not going to
weird
happen.
though, especially with
Go
black
ahead.
people, because it just depends on who you're talking to. Like, I'm light skinned to Ted, I'm dark skinned to you, Clay. And I try to have my emoji reflect what I thought was my complexion. And I sent it to my sister, and she was like, "You are not that dark. Quit playing, you light skinned." And I was like, "I'm light skinned? I didn't know I was light skinned. I'm the paper bag. I don't know what's going on." So it just depends on who you talk to. Halle
Well,
Berry is apparently dark to people.
I say, I wonder if it's about white passing or not, because when I think of Native Americans, like you're saying, Ted, you could choose. Elizabeth Warren, she chose to say she was Native American. I'm not here
Yes.
for it.
That was a
If you're
choice.
able to make a choice, then maybe that's not who you are. Elizabeth Warren said, I'm Native American, and went into Harvard University and took space for other Native American people. And she was marked as a minority. Elizabeth Warren, La Liz. So I really struggle with this whole choice narrative. There are some people who choose it, and they're only choosing because they have the privilege to choose.
I don't think that's, I think, I'm sorry. I don't think that's
Oh,
wrong.
yeah.
I think there are people who do choose. My point really was that race is a social construct. And if you get into like your brother, let's say, if he says, well, I'm black because I have a black grandparent, right? Or my father is part black. And so then we get into well, what qualifies you as black? I mean, what percentage of this is what I'm saying. It's just, it's difficult, I think, sometimes to imagine and think about this conversation outside of the context of it, because we have bought into the idea that it's actually real when it's actually made up. And so you can make up a thing and people can buy into what's made
Ted,
up.
everything is made up. Ted, you sound Ted, you scaring me. This is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff Clarence Thomas. This is the kind of Condoleezza Rice ish right. You scare me a little bit, Ted.
But you're not saying I'm wrong, okay?
No,
So
but it doesn't. But what I'm saying is that there's a conservative movement to say race is not real. We must have race neutral policies. So I think
that's
when
not
we
what I
say
said.
that,
I didn't
no,
say
but I
anything
get a
about
little.
policy.
I get it. But when we say it's not real, that kind of language is being used on the right to impact policy. So regardless if it's real or not, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Joelle Johnson has a pillow of Harriet Tubman right behind her.
Yes.
Tell Harriet Tubman, the icon, that race wasn't real. Like, I get what you're saying on a DNA biological level, but it is literally the foundation of America. It is literally the foundation of America's economy.
Okay,
it's real. It's real as rain.
So forgive
It's
me.
real.
So forgive me for having an academic approach, because that's real.
Oh, wait. Oh,
Right?
I'm a common dumb boy. Okay, he's academic. I'm common.
I didn't say anything about you.
I'm common. Oh, Lord have mercy.
My thinking about this is that we have to, if we're going to have, I think, conversations that are helpful and meaningful to us moving to a healthier place as people, we have to be honest about what we're actually talking about. And we have to understand that race is a construct, and it was constructed by white people.
By white people. Absolutely.
In order to separate, to control, to manipulate, and dominate darker hued people. That's the whole intent of it. And so if we can understand what it is and why it is, then we can work to deconstruct the ideas around it and also move to more equitable ways of existence, because we know that it's not a real thing and I shouldn't be treated anyway based on how you define my race.
Yeah, but I also think that, Ted, your thought process is a couple of steps ahead of where most people are. And I think what Clay is saying is that we have to stay in the space of it being real, because we can't have that nuanced conversation yet about it not being real, especially with white people, because of the fact that they're trying to take away the books and take away slavery talk and all that type of stuff. So we have to be able to say it is real. We're going to get to PhD level in a couple of years, maybe. But right now, we on kindergarten.
Level.
We are
kindergarten.
101. we
Maybe my
in kindergarten.
is to Black people, because that's really my
Exactly. Yeah, that's not a conversation we can have with white people.
I'm having is about white folk. It's to us, so we understand that our value is not connected to how we are defined in terms of race.